I added another layer. Just going to go ahead and drop a little, let's see, some kind of color over that. Like that. Not sure why it's not brighter, but it'll have to do. Drop a little color back into this area here. And we'll add detail to this later. It's not super important right now. Okay, let's start working with this. I'm gonna merge all these. Here's where we get to start working with some opaque things, I guess. So maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go to organic effects, and like promised, we're gonna work with some of the new media, some of the organic effects like trees, flowers, and that kind of thing. We got some rocks in here, stones, and that kind of thing. I'm gonna click stone 3, and this is a colored brush, so we just want the matte. So I'll press F2 and we'll get the matte version of that, okay? And I'm going to select white. Again, like we did the frisking over here, the frisket. We just kind of cut this matte out of here. We'll just go back in again and cut some more mattes into this. And we can color those later any way we want. But right now, we'll just go ahead and do that. We got some road here. All right, so you get the idea. There's a road there. We'll probably put some more details around here. I don't really know. Some rocks and things we can put here. Maybe there's like a little hill here with some rocks in it. Some other rocks there. And we'll come back to that later. I'm going to add another layer. And now we can start coloring some of that in. Let's do these trees now. We got pine trees. We got simple trees. I was getting pretty good success with these simple trees. Let's see what we can do with that. I'm going to make the smear a little more intense here, or the bleed. There's no bleed on it. And I'm going to make sure that's in matte mode. I might have clicked the color version of that. So let's see, we need some kind of color in there. Okay, so I'm going to just do this. And since we're working on a layer, this is going to be kind of translucent, which is good. That's just what we want. Add some little details in there. Add some details up here. Again, if we don't like something, we want to put some light back in there. I'll just caps lock it, and that's like erasing. We can go in and erase some stuff there, and so forth and so on. We don't like it, or we just want to highlight there somewhere. Maybe we got a little bush here somewhere. I'll go back to this original. Maybe we got a little bush here somewhere. We just go ahead and drop a little frisket right there, and we can come back and color it later. Sound like a good idea? All right, so in fact, we could put little highlights in that area right there by erasing bits of that, and we can highlight that later. We can color that later. Let's go back to that top layer. Let's get that green again and drop some little highlights in there. I'm going to turn off that caps lock again so I'm not erasing. I'm going to put a little yellower color, get those highlights. See, I'm just kind of coloring over those areas where we put the frisket or where we erased, and it makes it like a highlight. So that's kind of a quick way to make a nice highlight. And here and down here, we can add more to this later. And here, I'm not being very careful what I'm doing because we can come back over it later. All right, let's go add another layer. I want a little darker. Something or other. I'm going to go add those dark areas in here and start defining what these trees look like now a little bit. We can keep getting as dark as we want. We can do this darker, darker, darker. So forth and so on. If that's what we want, a little darker there, we can just go ahead and select a real dark color. So the thing about watercolors, they're very colorful. So you can get a lot of detail in there now. Lots of little details on this, maybe on this ground here. Whoops, it kind of covered up that light, but we can come back later and do something more with that. And again, like I said, with watercolors, you can really see all the underlying stuff. It's kind of part of its charm. Okay, let's go ahead and finish these trees up. And let's see, I'll make this brush a little smaller. Get darker still if we want to. Add another layer if we want to. Keep getting darker and darker and darker if that's what we want. Put some green back in that. Some green back in that. Bushes up here by the road, there. Up here. You know, it's going to be messy. Until we're getting close to done, this is going to be pretty messy looking. But we'll continue to refine and refine and refine. I'll probably want to go ahead and do something here where these lines are, too. We don't really have a focal point on this hill yet, so we need something, a castle or something up there. And also, we promised to make some mountains in the background. Go ahead and... let's see. Not oils. We want to use watercolors. And from here, it's just going to be a matter of refining it. Once we've kind of decided what we want to do with it, it's just a matter of refining it. And let's see. Simple opaque. Maybe. Textured wet. Let's try that and see what happens. Kind of a, yeah. Looks very wet, doesn't it? Kind of a mountain right there. A little bit up here. Somebody said, you know, we couldn't just drop it right on top of what we've already done there. It kind of erases some of the detail we've already put in there, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just continuing to decide what we want to do with this. Not wild about that. Nice thing about computers, you just undo what you don't like. But, you know, oops, I guess you could have something over here too. If it's too dark, you just get hit fade last action, and you can lighten it up a bit. Now let's add a layer. Oh, I'm not really sure what to do next. I think we need to start adding some definition to this road. And so forth. That's a bit much. Let's bring the size of that down way down. And see what we can do with that. That's better. Maybe there's like a little something or other by the road. Like a little ledge or something. Just kind of lonely little, whoops. Lonely little something or other by the side of the road there. I'm not sure why we covered up a road, but anywho, maybe there's a... Another thing we can do here is add some more paper texture to that. Nobody says we have to use watercolor texture, so we can just put whatever texture in there what we want. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, so at least we have the right shape. Not sure where to go from here, but you know, it is, like we said, a matter of refinement. So let's merge all this. I think would be a good idea at this point. And we can start. We can do opaque stuff. We can do whatever we want at this point. So let's try some opaque stuff. I'm going to store a copy of this. We can come back to it. Or, you know, do some blending with it later or something. I'm going to go back to that organic effect. I want to put some tree branches in, some grass, all kinds of stuff we can do with this at this point. Let's go back to that simple trees for a minute. Simple tree Select a nice color.